everybody, and welcome to the first annual Musicals March, a month I plan to dedicate to adaptations of musicals and musical adaptations. Today we're talking about Twisted, and to be fair, it's a bit of an excuse to talk about what is easily one of my most favorite musicals and parodies. But hear me out. You see, I count parodies as a form of adaptation, and it's my channel. Yeah, no, that's it. So, without further ado, let's talk about Twisted, the untold story of a royal vizier. Twisted is a parody of Disney's Aladdin, which is, in turn, an adaptation of Aladdin and the Wonderful Lamp. It was written and performed by Starkid, a production company that is probably best well known for a Very Potter musical, a surprise success, and the first production of theirs that they posted online. Oh yeah, that's right. I should probably mention that Starkid posts their musicals on YouTube for anyone to watch.
For free!
I've left a complimentary link in the description, and any of you who don't like spoilers should watch it now because, spoilers. Let me reiterate that this is not one for the kids. There's a lot of language and crude humor, but if that's not something that bothers you, you should watch it because it's really good. I'll still be here when you get back, I promise. Okay, enough shilling. I've clearly already given away that I think Twisted is a very good parody, so let's explore why. Like any good parody, Twisted manages to reference and lampshade elements of its source while managing to give a delightfully original story. But what really sets it apart, what makes it stand out from all the rest, is that it's a story with heart. Twisted takes the wicked route of telling the story of Aladdin through the eyes of its villain, Jafar. In this version of Agrabah, here called the Magic Kingdom, the people live by one rule.
You've got to dream a little harder when life won't go your way.
A sentiment that sounds incredibly Disney, and maybe even pretty good, until the opening song proceeds to express the extent to which this sentiment goes.
Cause if you're good and you're attractive, no need to be proactive.
Good things will just happen to you.
Dreaming, but no action. In fact, they take it so far that Jafar has apparently become the scapegoat of the kingdom, blamed for everything from the lack of good jobs to the crying of their children and the high crime rate. Now granted, the government of the Magic Kingdom is corrupt, but rather than work together to consider what they can do to change it, they spend their mornings complaining about the one guy interested in trying to fix things. We're introduced to Jafar in this sequence as a man who relies on reason and considers the citizens' proclivity towards wishing and dreaming delusional. Jafar clearly wants to improve things, but his methods of logic and reason conflict with the rest of the cast's own approach of dreaming a little harder. It's shortly after we've witnessed the daily ritual bullying of the royal vizier that we get our first look into what this version of Aladdin will be like, as the captain of the guard points out that the street rat has a body count.
Today things got a little out of hand and a lot of good people are dead.
Explain!
Well, the sword swallower slit his throat from the inside when the thief's pet monkey ripped the sword right out of it. You know the guy that sleeps on the bed of nails?
Yes.
A fat guard fell on him. Now he's dead. Then when we fell from the window and into the cart of manure, Cabal snapped his neck on impact. 2 more choked on all this for a loaf of bread.
We then meet Aladdin properly with his opening song,
I steal everything.
in which Aladdin expresses his love of thievery, lecherous nature, and general disregard for anyone who isn't him. This Aladdin is not an unfortunate victim of circumstance hoping for a better life. He's a low-life scumbag, more than content to continue taking advantage of others so he doesn't have to do anything for himself. Following this, we return to Jafar and are introduced to the primary external conflict of the story, Ahmed. Of course you remember Ahmed, right? No? Well, that's probably because in Disney's Aladdin, he was
just a one-off joke, not to be taken seriously.
Let's see. Oh! This should help.
Good luck marrying her off.
Oh, good stuff. Jasmine sicked her tiger on him because he's a jerk. Get it? Oh, what a girl boss. Except, he was a visiting dignitary. What would actually happen if the princess of one kingdom attacked the prince of another? Well, in this case...
Prepare for war!
No, Ahmed, wait!
No! Nobody makes an of Prince Ahmed!
While Jafar is fretting over the kingdom's newest problem, the princess enters the scene. And straight out of the gate, we get a pretty good look at what kind of a person she is, as she has just freed a bunch of imported birds, who Jafar points out aren't going to be able to survive in their present environment. The princess counters that it's still better than being in a cage, and begins to complain about her own situation. She also makes a lot of statements about what she seems to perceive as the plight of the common man, while still treating her slaves like, well...
Grapes!
slaves. Basically, she's that person on Twitter who makes broad statements about injustices that have never touched her, and while she probably means well, she should probably start doing a lot more listening than talking because she clearly doesn't know what she's talking about.
Where have you been? Spinning silk in your private sweatshop, mistress.
You actually work in one of those?
Yes.
That's supporting a corrupt system. You're a part of the problem.
During this scene, Jafar reiterates his disdain for the kingdom's modus operandi, stating that life is a series of disappointments and compromises, before leaving the princess to sing about her dreams of having more than the lavish life she already possesses. These are the characters as they are now. Disney's evil sorcerer is a cynical man of reason who wants the best for his country. Jasmine's Exby is a spoiled princess who clearly wants to do good, but is too caught up in her own ideas of what that means to be effective. And Aladdin, well, is Aladdin.
Hey, little orphan kids! You guys hungry? You want some bread?
We do, sir.
Fetch you!
This parodies Disney's Aladdin in that it both mirrors and reflects these characters. Jafar is cunning, but seeks to lift others up rather than just himself. Deep down, the princess is still kind-hearted, but her sheltered life has twisted her ability to give more than lip service to the change she believes in. Aladdin is still a roguish thief. I mean, he's played by Jeff Blim for crying out loud. But he has absolutely no moral compass. Twisted takes the angle of, what if Aladdin, but everything is shifted slightly to the left? And it gives us a whole different story to work with. Now, I'm not gonna go into every detail of the story, because then this video would be longer than the musical. Besides, some of you are probably watching this before you watch the musical, and there's no way I'm handing out the best bits. I will, however, tell you about Scheherazade, a character in Twisted whose name is taken from Scheherazade, and is also what I thought Scheherazade's name was for literal years, thanks to it being said so quickly in the song Friend Like Me. But that's not important. What is important is who Scheherazade is, and that means it's time for...
Literary history.
Scheherazade is the protagonist from a little Middle Eastern anthology known as 1001 Nights. The framing device of this collection of folklore is that a king, having found his wife cheating on him, decides that all women are garbage, and commits to marrying a series of virgins and then killing them the morning after. The vizier's daughter, Scheherazade, eventually offers herself as a bride and keeps herself alive by pulling a Netflix on the king and telling him stories with massive cliffhangers. She refuses to let him binge-watch her entire series in one night, however, which keeps her alive until the king eventually falls for her, ultimately saving herself and the kingdom, which was probably getting pretty tired of the king killing all the virgins. Why is this important? Well, Scheherazade is a clear reference to Scheherazade. We learn in a flashback that Jafar actually used to be more of an idealist. The whole reason he went for a position in the palace in the first place is because he genuinely believed that he could reason with the corrupt council and make good changes. He soon learns that the then present vizier and his, shall we say, minions weren't acting from a place of ignorance so much as greed. And it's while he's mulling over his disillusionment that he meets Scheherazade, a beautiful young girl who tells Jafar it's her job to entertain the nobles with stories and songs and dancing. And guys, she's a dreamer.
You see, you say you only believe what you can touch and feel. But magic does nothing if not touch the soul. And there's no greater feeling than that.
She and Jafar hit it off, though he insists that the magical story she tells him of a magic lamp is nothing more than fiction. But her nature complements his idealism, and they begin to build a life for themselves. Considering I haven't mentioned Scheherazade until now, you can probably guess where this is going. Yes, we learn through this flashback that the reason for Jafar's present-day cynicism is that his wife is taken from him by the corrupt system of government he tried so hard to reform. Come on, guys! We were literally just laughing about how stupid the Sultan is, and now I'm over here crying? I mean, especially when Jafar comes out of the flashback and ponders through song about what changes he would make if he did dream. Thankfully, the show knows just when to get the jokes rolling again, as we watch the princess try to convince herself that this cool new guy she met is actually a good person, while said guy, Aladdin, does his utmost to manipulate her into letting him take advantage of her. Like in the Disney movie, they're both apprehended by the royal guard. Aladdin is taken into custody, and Jafar, tired of the thief's shenanigans, decides to use him to get into the Cave of Wonders. Aladdin straight up steals the lamp because, of course he does, and Act 1 ends with Jafar left once again without hope. Alright, I've given you guys the setup. From here on, we're going to do a more succinct summary of Act 2 before getting into the meat of it. K. Lightning Round! As Ahmed is preparing for war, Jafar is having to deal with Aladdin showing back up and increasing his body count with an unsanctioned parade. The thief sneaks into the princess's bedroom and continues to try to manipulate her with a song lampshading all the supposed subliminal messages in Disney films. Like, this parody digs deep for the jokes, and I love it. The princess convinces Aladdin to marry her, hoping he will be able to take on Ahmed and save the kingdom.
I don't even know who that guy is.
Aladdin agrees to this, with the sole purpose of eventually getting into the princess's pants. Soon after, Jafar confronts Aladdin in front of the princess and sultan, during which he manages to steal the lamp back. Then the single best song in the entire musical happens, as Jafar tries to decide what to do. He tries to use the genie's powers to become powerful enough to defeat Ahmed and his army, but is having trouble making headway. It is during a final confrontation, where he tries to save the princess from the single-minded, ever-lustful Aladdin, that his best chance finally occurs to him. His final wish is for the genie to be freed, and for him to take the genie's place. Doing this, he manages to scare off Aladdin, and presents his lamp to the princess. Phew! Lightning round done. And here is where the meaning of this, shall I say, twisted version of Aladdin comes to a head. You see, Jafar and the princess are actually two sides of the same problem. Jafar is a cynic who relies on reason and logic alone in his attempts to change the world. The princess is a naive idealist who can imagine a better future, but lacks the tools and understanding to actually carry any of it out. Jafar handing his lamp to the princess presents a meeting of the greatest strengths of these two characters, as he realizes the power of dreams and gives the princess the tools she needs to accomplish them. What is the power of dreams? Put simply, it's the power to expand the possibilities. It's actually not often that a person is both a dreamer and a realist, and you often need both attributes to get things done. A dreamer will say, I want to put a man on the moon. A realist will say, you can't breathe in space. When the realist opens themselves up to the idea that landing on the moon could be possible, and the dreamer accepts that the realist is kind of right about not breathing in space, they both open themselves up to being able to formulate a plan to overcome those obstacles. And that's what this story is about. Dreaming without action is pointless, but you need dreams to expand the possibilities of what you can do. So this video essay is already my longest yet, and I haven't even told you half of what makes Twisted an amazing musical and a fantastic parody. Again, if you haven't watched it yet, seriously, go watch it. You will not be disappointed. In the meantime, though, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you have a favorite parody? What's one dream you're chasing after right now? Let me know in the comments. As always, I'm Saga Threetail. What's your story?
I only wish to have a coat made out of toppings!
Why would you do that?
By the way, you might have noticed that I've got some new avatars. Do you like them? If not, that's okay, because these are temporary. I actually have a friend who is much better at art than I am working on some new ones for me, so look forward to that in the future. And make sure and pay your artist friends. They deserve it.